Hello?
We on here?
Yes, it
Yes,
seems
we are.
so.
Good evening. It's time for another edition of Mek We Chat. It's Thursday evening, the 21st day of November. The year is 2019. I'm Jerry George, your host, and we're in, as usual, for another rollicking time as we bring to you current affairs, the stuff that we choose to bring to your attention, and certainly we anticipate your response and we anticipate your involvement in this evening's program. George Grant is at the controls as usual. In New York is Margaret. Margaret is in New York, she didn't you? Margaret Francis. And Bev
Tell you,
Sinclair.
boy.
Oh, gosh. Margaret is
I don't
fast,
show.
people fast.
I
You
don't
understand?
show.
You know?
I don't show.
What you ain't
And
sure
in
about?
George is also who are you doing? Beverley Sinclair, our producer. Beverley, take it away.
Good evening, folks. I really, oh boy, I tell you when people want to fast. Maybe
Tell
it's
me about it.
because.
Yes. And they're not even pretending.
We know.
Well, I
They're
am
just
glad to
fast,
be
fast.
here. Where I am right now is with you guys on Mek We Chat. But it's the happiest place on radio where I like to be on a Thursday evening. This evening, we want to look at the situation in Dominica as it heats up. And we're certainly hoping Athy will join us as the evening wears on, because he is the man to tell us what's happening on the ground there in Dominica. He's there, he lives there, he knows. And we also want to look at some interesting things that have come out in Grenada's 2020 budget presentation. Those are the two main items on the agenda, on the menu for this evening. This is Mek We Chat. You know that we may just say.
Let's welcome Dwyer. Dwyer Astaphan has joined us.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Dwyer.
Good evening, Dwyer. Very happy to see you.
Sorry to be late. I'm going to have to run away in about half an hour for 10 minutes, and then I'll come back. I just have to make a quick errand.
Okay, we allow on Mek We Chat, that's allowed.
Thank you.
The other suspects will keep the show going until you get back.
Great.
Right, so those are the two main items on the agenda this evening, Mr. George. And since Athy is not here as yet, we may want to wait on him a little bit. But before we get into those items, last week or the week before, we looked at the issue in St. Vincent with the churches coming out with that massive march to keep the bubble laws as they are on the books. And they wanted to join a lawsuit in that fight. There has been some development, and I'd love for Mr. St. Vincent. Tell us something. You in St. Vincent? Where are you? You're the one. You're the one who always running all over the place. You know, where are you this evening?
I don't know why you tried to let. I don't know why you tried to let Margaret off the hook, you know.
No, don't try that. I'm always the same place. Always the same place.
Oh, really? No.
There is
Oh, here's
Athy.
Happy. No, we got a good.
Welcome. Yes. You're the one always running around. And next thing you know, we got a note from Jerry, he's traveling, he can't be on tonight.
Exactly.
How many times for the year we get that? If anybody needs to declare location, is me. Yes, but please give us the update.
Anyway, let me ignore you all. So on the court matter, the churches decided that they wanted to join the government because the government is moving to oppose the removal of the law from the law books. And the churches asked to join them. Obviously, they had to make that a matter of the court. The legal team objected to them doing so, but the judge held her judgment because it would have come out the day before the march, and I suspect that she didn't want to influence the march. So she gave her judgment 2 mornings ago, and she has given permission for the churches to join the legal battle.
So the other side who said objected. The other side who said objected.
No, now is a bad time. I'm just going on a radio program.
The other side who said objected on what grounds?
Yeah, I'm just starting. Okay.
I'm not quite sure up to now, you know. The only real explanation for that is what the 2 guys who were bringing the case said, that, what they call it, they said that if the churches joined, it would make it like an unfair situation for the society. That's my thing. I never heard what was actually reported in terms of what the objection was from the legal team for the 2 guys. So I can't say for sure what that is.
Can you adjust the camera? Oh, no, you're going the wrong way, Ati. Come back the other way. Can't see your tall now.
Don't go there, Ati.
He just barely see top of his head.
Can't see you at all now,
the top of his head.
Come back, Ati.
That's more like it.
Now
that's better.
Yeah. Good night, I have to apologize. I have to leave my phone on. I've kind of muted it, but I may have to take calls in the course of the program. I'm sure you understand.
All right, just make sure you give us a little bit more chin room.
Excuse me?
Tilt your monitor forward a little bit,
down,
so we have a little bit more room under your chin.
Speak up a little bit, George.
Tilt your monitor forward. We need some chin room.
What you want to see the hairs on my chest?
I think I got another spunk, boy.
Now that's it.
That's it. Thank you.
If you don't have spunk, you're not going to produce, you're not going to survive.
Ati, when you have to take a call, you can mute your microphone. You can mute the microphone on Zoom, and we won't hear you. That little icon in the corner there.
Okay, but I don't have the headphones and the stuff, you know.
Now, if you just tap your...
No, just mute the mic.
Yeah, you can. If you see the mic
Just
on your
mute the
screen,
mic.
you just mute it.
Okay, good.
Right. And that will help.
And by the way, guys, I think it's very important that we acknowledge the beautiful picture that we have tonight of Mr. Astaphan. I mean, he is spot on tonight. Did you see that? Looks like he even had a haircut.
What is that?
He is perfectly centered tonight.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing,
Dwyer? Hey, brother Ati.
How you doing, man?
Boy, you know, I'm like Red Charles, eh? Born to lose. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Right. There is so much going on in Dominica tonight. We're going to leave Dominica for a second. We're going to we're going to talk about Dominica's budget first. The discussion has just started on it today. So there is still a lot to be said about the budget. I forwarded you guys some info. Don't know if you had time to look at it, but we have a clip because one of the comments that I've heard since the presentation of the budget on Wednesday was that what many people expected to be the biggest money earner, which was Grenada's oil and gas, was not even mentioned in the budget. However, the Prime Minister, who is also the Minister of Finance, did speak to it in a post-budget interview. So we have a clip here with what the Prime Minister, as political leader of his party last year during the election campaign, had promised oil and gas, and what he said after the budget presentation yesterday, oil and gas. And we just want to share that with you. If George is able to share that, we suspect will not be able to hear it, but we should have listened to it today.
When Gregory Bowen and myself and the former NNP government started based on some studies that we saw, because as scientists we understand science. We decided that we must look at the potential for oil and gas in Grenada. We started and negotiated and we advertised, and a company called GPG was the only one who satisfied and met the conditions we set. So we went into arrangement with them for the possibility of drilling for oil and gas in our waters. Sisters and brothers, therefore I want to say to you tonight, after all the headaches, one well was drilled. There were results that we wanted to confirm before we make a noise. Sisters and brothers, the report said that we have found significant gas and oil in the waters of Grenada in one well so far. You know what that means for your future? It means a lot for the future of this country. Sisters and brothers, one well. We have several more wells which are even more exciting than the one they just found. In other words, Grenada can be a massive supplier of oil and gas.
I still want to answer the question of the hydrocarbon.
The hydrocarbons, yeah.
What is happening to us? Remember, we have serious finds. And we drilled 2 wells already and we got very optimistic results. The problem we have is that these are not enough for we want to drill a few more wells, and it looks good. The prospects are good because the way we drilled, more or less possibilities in terms of estimates than areas that we have not drilled. The problem is because of the large find in Guyana, many of the development activities with the large find and Venezuela situation, a number of the firms are using the opportunity with the problem in Venezuela to get sweet deals. Right. So we are caught in between, but they're still pursuing, and the Minister of Energy will be discussing the potential opportunities there. So the prospects are still good, but we just have not been able to get the investors have not been able to raise the necessary resources to do the drilling, because it costs a lot of millions to do one drill, to one well. So that's the problem we're facing.
Alrighty, folks, we are back. So there you have it. Prime Minister is speaking after the budget presentation yesterday. Bev?
Yes, and 2 of our suspects did not hear that today. So let me see if I can rephrase. Last year, at the last rally for the new National Party before the election, the Prime Minister announced that we had found oil. That was the question on his address. He said there were significant finds, and because of these significant finds, Grenada was poised to become a major provider of oil and gas. That was March last year. And then after the budget to yesterday, oil and gas was not mentioned in the budget at all. And he referred to it in a post-budget interview that he did. And he said the problem we are having now, if I could summarize, is that the big find in Guyana and the situation in Venezuela, that the companies involved in oil production are now looking for sweeter deals, and the investors for Grenada GPG don't have the money to do the drilling because it takes a lot of millions of dollars to drill a well, and they don't have the money. So that is the problem Grenada is having now, while there is no oil and gas. But the prospects still look good.
Wow.
That's
so that essentially is, the essence of what he said.
Yeah.
So there's no money. So clearly they're saying there's not sufficient oil and gas to really make it attractive for an investor. That's what he's saying.
Well,
Yes.
Because we were.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh no, I think, I mean, if you coin what he's saying, that's basically what he has said. That
Yeah, that's
we don't
basically
have
what he has said. Yeah.
sufficient, right? You know, so that some investor will come anytime soon to do that, especially in light of what is happening in Guyana. Forget it.
Yeah, Guyana and Venezuela.
I doubt it.
Basically.
But it is interesting that he should say that, because in the pre-election address, he said that, when he and Gregor Boyd did all their checks, GPG was the only company that met the criteria that they laid down to give them the right to explore in Grenada's water.
Not having money.
So if they don't have money to do the exploration, I am wondering what if that was not included in the criteria which was laid down, that you must have money to do the exploration.
Well, once you go into that kind of setting and you're dealing with a single entity, once it fails, everything fails, which is just bad business. That is the kind of stuff you put out there and let people compete for it, and then you know the value of it. But for whatever reason, Grenada choose to just take the word of one investor. And so if that one investor turns out wrong, it's like a situation right here in St. Vincent right now, that there's this Canadian firm who is supposedly building a hotel in St. Vincent. And I've been told that they have basically backed out of it now because they say they don't have sufficient money. But my inside checks tell me part of the reason for building this hotel, it was going to be one of the 402 or whatever number it is where you can go to and smoke marijuana. With the industry in Canada taking such a severe hit, the investors don't have the money. But if you only approach and rest all of your confidence in one investor, whenever that one investor decides to walk, everything goes. Whereas if you have 2 or 3 of them competing, they will definitely try to do something so that one of them keeps it. We just don't understand how big business gets done, and I think that's the problem.
No, I don't know if that is it, that we just don't understand. We don't even care to understand because our objectives seem to be different. That does not seem to be where we want to go, because if big business is where we want to go, we would chart a course to get there. We just don't seem to want to get there, Jerry. We have a different agenda.
No, well, you see, it's this business of taking one set of people vote, and we don't know what the back story is, what the back offers are, etc. But for something as big as this, look, even Guyana had people bid for it. Tolo out of England just bid and got some other fields, and they're drilling and find oil. It's the kind of stuff you do not commit to one person.
And no, this one person, which last year...
person, but you know what I mean, one entity.
Yes, this one entity, one person, one company, which the Prime Minister last year, in his speech as political leader of the NNP, where he said, who you gonna trust with your oil money? Who you gonna trust with your money? And where is the money? Now they don't have money to go and do the exploration. So...
Just remember when that speech was made, eh?
Yes, I remember when it was made, and that is why I'm talking about it now. In comparison to what he said yesterday, because yesterday he alluded to the fact that whatever was found was nothing to get excited about. But last year, what was found was going to put Grenada on.
He actually said that yesterday?
Yes.
He actually said that. Oh, well, you see, I made the comment just now and didn't realize that's what he said, because that makes sense.
That's what he said.
That makes sense.
He said, so basically, because Grenada is not significant and compared to what they've gotten in Guyana and the situation in Venezuela, Grenada is insignificant right now, comparatively speaking. So hence the reason why.
Yeah,
And I
they're
can't
understand.
And I still don't get it, because if you had given your oil and gas exploration to this company, does this company have interest in Guyana and Venezuela? I don't see what's happening in Venezuela and Guyana have to do with them exploring Grenada, looking and finding the wells with all this fantastic oil and gas that is supposed to be there. So, except they have gone to work in Guyana and seeking sweet deals in Venezuela, I really don't see what is happening in those two countries have to do with GPG.
No, it does. It really does. Let me tell you, this is a business of big numbers and big interests. All right. Now, let's face it. The company that was said to be the one interested here is a Russian company. I think it was.
Yeah. Some Russian. Yes, yeah. Russian company.
Yeah. It's a Russian company. Mm-hmm. Now, listen. For a Russian company to mobilize out of Russia, compared to even a British company or a US company to mobilize, the cost is phenomenal. If you're going to mobilize to come to a place like Grenada and you don't have really overabundance of oil, the cost is going to be massive. And if you're going to come into an area where you have Guyana, which gushing with oil wells and so forth, Venezuela that has wells that just have not been pumped because of the situation in Guyana. If even you did Grenada, the cost is going to be so high. Who's going to buy it? But you see, when politics come in and before an election, because we have a mass of people who are very uninformed about these things, people could be fooled. And that is all that happened here. That is why I said to you, look at when it was said. Mm-hmm. It was said to influence the outcome of the election.
Yes. There's also an element of technology. I mean, this is not 75 years ago. You know,
right.
when these guys were punching holes in the crust of the earth looking for oil. The people with interest in oil and natural gas know exactly where all the oil and gas is on the earth. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they don't even have to come to you to know that. Yep. You know, satellite, aerial spectrometry, photography, they know. Mm-hmm. And the tragedy, and the thing is, they use that technology to save them money. So they don't have to make errors. They have to, they know exactly where the veins are, where the reservoirs are. And it is a tragedy that these little tin pot prime ministers and whatnot continue to make a mockery of us and our countries and whatnot. Because, anybody with half a brain would know that the only reason you're not generating any real interest in that is that the people who have looked at it, know exactly that you don't have anything. It's not worth their while to come in. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to attract investors. If you did attract investors, I would guarantee you their interest would not be oil. Their interest would be something else. Under the guise of oil, the oil would be the umbrella. You would find portions of your prime land just suddenly going into other hands. You find other things happening. And so, Mitchell and all these guys are just, engaged in a game of tomfoolery called politics and governance. And unfortunately, although we do have, I'm sorry, Richie is not with us tonight because Richie knows about these things. The technology is available at the press of a button. You pay for it. So large companies have a research budget, but it's not to send people into the field, it's to buy time. So it's not real. It's a mirage. It's a mirage. And
see, it's just to win elections. That's all it's
election.
Used for.
That's all.
That's it.
All there is to it.
That is
just used to win election.
And what it is.
Yeah, and that is why the politics is the way it is, because it doesn't bother these people to stand up and lie and know that you're lying. and you tell the nation a lie just to win an election, and you win on the lie, and you just continue to smile and behave as if a lie is nothing.
All right, Beverley, since you're using that word so often, I just want to jump in here because I tell you, I don't know if it's the topic or if it's just that you have a really weird bunch of people watching you guys tonight. There's some comments here that I have to share with you guys. First of all, Margaret's neighbor in New York has posted something here. And he's thanking you, Beverley, for relaying the oil and gas explanation. You provided an explanation a little while ago. He says, here I was blaming Nazem Burke all the time. Poor Nazem, that's the reason why this whole thing seems to be falling apart. Then, in addition to that, hold on a sec here. Sharon says, Teacher Percy say, if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. You hear? Lie? That is lie. Don't smile, Dwyer. I've never been a singer. My parents used to read me my rights every time I tried to sing at home as a child, so please. Okay. John Noseyneck says, liar, liar, pants on fire. Why are you guys using this word so often? Ryan says, Mags, it seems that a popular Grenada politician can feed our people BS, and they will eat it up like caviar.
Oh, gosh.
Caviar has never been one of my favorites, by the way. He also goes on, John says, if you can't baffle them with science, baffle them with BS. Ronald Joseph says, Keith Michelle, Ronald, it's Mitchell, not Michelle. Keith Mitchell and Roosevelt Scarrett are two of a kind. They are basic liars. Sharon says, Bev, permit me to correct you. Not to win an election, to thief an election. Wow. Lively group out there tonight. Lively, lively, lively group tonight. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. And so here it is. Jerry says he was going through the budget document. I just kind of picked out a couple of things. Oil and gas was one. The other one was the pilot campaign. And those of you whose brain can do mathematics, if you take $5 million and you divide it among 10,000 items, how much would you be paying for each item? And that figure. $5 million, 10,000 items.
5 million is what?
5,000.
5,000.
5,000. Okay.
Yeah, just the zeros. Just do the zeros, yeah.
Yeah. Do the zeros, man. So we come up with a figure. So it would be $5,000 per
500.
item.
500.
500.
500. That's what it's 10,000. 500.
500.
Yeah.
So we all agree on 500. Okay. So the Ministry of Social Development is installing 10,000 toilets across the nation with $5 million. And I'm thinking, well, that is $500. But because my maths don't always work so good, I said I would ask for help when I come on Mek We Chat tonight. Because I know that the suspects them in many ways, will understand these figures. I said, well, that is $500. And they are supposed to be inside toilets with plumbing in a concrete structure. Because, of course, you can't build it in a wooden structure. You have, if the house you're putting it on doesn't have a concrete structure, you have to build a concrete structure, do all the plumbing, put in the fittings and the fixtures, And they're doing 10,000 for $5 million. And I'm like, so you can complete a bathroom for $500? Really?
Are these going to be done on individual homes or is it?
Yeah, individual homes. Individual homes. Yeah, because.
But how much is that? Just a toilet set alone is what? Is more than $500 right now?
Exactly. And you have to do the plumbing, you have to do
but remember, if they're doing this, they're going to be buying the toilets
in bulk. Okay, that's okay, fine.
And if you buy them out of China, they you probably get them for $200.
Right.
But still, $200, that leaves $300 to get you everything else.
Yeah, to do the plumbing and to build the
right. And what happens if the room for the toilet is not available? It means you have to add that on.
Let me just read a report.
I mean, I'm not a mathematician either. I'm like I'm math challenged. But it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. The figures, it doesn't make any sense. And
here's how it makes sense.
America's come to salary.
Here's how it makes sense. How many politicians you have, active politicians you have in Grenada?
In the parliament.
How many members of parliament?
Members of parliament, there are 15.
How many? 50?
15.
15.
Uh-huh.
That 5 million might be just about enough to accommodate the crap that those 15 people generate on a daily basis. let's not give it. Because politicians.
But this man sound like Trump, so.
Generate crap. And that's about enough money to accommodate their crap.
I feel must have said this thing on here. I want to laugh, but I can't laugh.
I'm asking if he's a supporter of Trump.
Listen, one report in an online paper, Delma Thomas, Minister for Social Development and Housing, said that funding for the project will be through the additional $5 million that is allocated to her ministry in the 2020 budget, which is currently being debated in the House after it was presented by Finance Minister Dr. Pete Mitchell on Wednesday, November 20th.
Beverley?
Yes, Dwyer.
Which homes are these toilets to be installed in?
Well,
is a government project?
It's a government project, but they are going to be installed in private homes.
Homes.
The usual thing, the vulnerable and marginalized.
So how many homes you have in Grenada?
Well,
how many households are there in Grenada? How many households?
No, 30-something thousand, I suspect.
Yeah, it's 30-something thousand households, you would say, because the population is just over 100,000. So if you average 4 per household, it's just over 30,000, let's say 40,000 households, and you have 10,000 that they say are still using pit toilets or are going to be upgraded with these.
So one in 4 homes in Grenada. 1 in 4 homes in Grenada is still using pit toilet.
According to what's
that's what it's saying.
Parliament.
That's high.
Very high.
But you have to ask whether the government is donating the toilet set and these people on a self-help basis have the plumbing put in and that sort of thing. Namely, I don't know what the details of the project are. All you're saying it's 10,000 toilets at a cost of $5 million. I don't know if the government is having to pay to actually do all the plumbing work. But it's appalling. It's shocking that 1 in 4 homes in Grenada doesn't have an inside toilet in the year 2019.
Yeah, that's figure from the time I heard it, it's done me kind of.
It's appalling.
Assuming that it's accurate.
Sir?
Assuming that figure is accurate. I agree with you.
Well, I'm saying 1 in 4. If Grenada has how many people in it, you say?
Just about 108,000.
108?
Yeah.
So you can't have more than 40,000 homes in Grenada.
Exactly.
I mean, it is most unlikely.
That's what I'm saying.
Most unlikely.
35,000.
Yeah.
And if 10,000 of those do not have an inside toilet, that is terrible.
Well, let's hope some smart.
I was shocked.
Let's hope some smart politician doesn't come up next year with a toilet tax.
No, I'll tell you.
I mean, listen, this sounds funny, but it's not far-fetched.
You all are supporters of Trump, I could tell. But listen.
Oh, no, man. No.
Listen to how this is going to be used, because I've watched it happen in St. Vincent. Although there was never a project, so to speak, in St. Vincent where the government gives toilets. But when they came to doing the poverty assessment, that's one of the areas they focused on. Now, the people in the banana belt at the time, many of them remodeled their homes, and where they had in the past, would have had outdoor toilets. One of the first things they would do if they got some money was to add on a water closet. All right?
Yeah.
That was used in the poverty assessment to say that the country moved in terms of its indigence, moved from 27 up to 3%.
All right. That's another question I would ask is, if they're putting in all of these toilets, is this part of a larger project? Where is the waste going to go? Into soakaways? Or are they going to have a sewage system and maybe try to do a recycling and be modern? If you're going to spend some money on something like that, and you need to go all the way and do it right, if you have all of these soakaways,
go ahead.
It's all soakaways.
In a political push like this, it's just going to be all soakaways, because the intent is not developing a sewer system. The intent is simply to give people something so that in the next election they'll look around and say, boy, before I had to go outside at night, I could stay inside now. That's it.
Yeah, what
I told you I've watched it happen.
The point that Dwyer is hinting at, there was a time when people didn't have to wait on government to put a toilet in their house. In the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, not just the bananas, but other business provided people with sufficient independent income that they were able to arrange, sometimes with financing through the credit union, to improve the plumbing in their house on their own. There's been a significant undermining of people's capacity to remain financially and economically independent, especially in the windwards, following bananas, and then tourism, which doesn't spread the income back into those communities that lost agricultural income. So people lost the capacity to make their own home improvements. And then they turned to government for things that they used to do themselves. And the net effect of that is, as Dwyer is also hinting, these are half-assed planned projects. In our case, the capital city of Roseau, which is where almost 30% of the population lives in the greater Roseau area, there was a big deal about putting in a modern sewage system and a sewage treatment plant. Guess what?
They never did it.
They did it.
Okay.
But what is the treatment? The treatment is they simply removed the paper from the sewage, and they have extended the outfall pipes a little further out. And raw sewage is what leaves our sewage treatment plant and goes out into the ocean. That's the same coast where we do our diving, our snorkeling, our fishing, and our swimming.
Oh no!
There is a model in Guadeloupe, right next door, where there is a sewage treatment plant that treats the water and recycles that water into irrigation water in banana fields, etc., etc., etc. In our case, we call it sewage treatment plant. There is no treatment. But there's a nice building on the bayfront, right next to the mouth of the Rosa River, and the stuff just is all piped into that. Solid stuff is removed, like paper and whatever, and the rest of the sewage is shoved out into the ocean.
Well, George, I don't know. I think there's a similar situation that was happening in Grenada on the southern end of the island. Isn't that? Yeah, I think I heard.
No, most of these countries, yeah.
I heard a story like that where a lot of the sewage from the tourist belt
we don't treat our
was being sent into the water at the southern end of the island.
Headed out to sea.
Yeah.
And you would think that with each flushing of a toilet, you use how many gallons of water?
Yes.
You'd think if you do a proper recycling of that, the economics of it would compel you to go the whole way and do a thorough system. Just the economics of it, common sense. That's good governance now. That's good governance. But you know, these guys, and we too, because we accept it, we really validate, I hate to say this, but we validate people like Donald Trump when he described us as SH countries, eh?
Yes.
Literally.
Absolutely.
That is why I kept saying that, what I was saying all along, because we act it up.
You cannot, in the year 2019, talk about a project like this and don't have proper sewage treatment and recycling at the forefront of your list of priorities. It is a prime issue for all of us. We have the same thing here. Bastia sits on a water table and it's really floating on a cesspool.
Wow. Oh gosh.
But
I tell you something.
The new hotel, the new 5-star hotel, the Kempinski Hotel, 151 room, was built in a swamp. There is no sewage treatment facility associated with that hotel. Check the number of flushes per day passing through a swamp, which was a fish hatchery area, and sitting on an isthmus between two of Dominica's most beautiful bays, the Douglas Bay to the north and the Prince Rupert's Bay to the south, where there's yachting, there's snorkeling, there's swimming. Come on. I mean, come on. So who's to hold feet to the wire to make sure that these things don't happen even in 2019?
Yeah,
because I would challenge the Minister of Social Development and whoever prepared that document, whether or not a quarter of Grenada is really still using pit latrines. I would challenge those figures.
You'd have to go far in St. Kitts to find one. I can't think of any that exists in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
But even with that, we are far away from where we need to be in terms of sewage treatment and recycling. Far. We're just wasting things, man.
Yeah, that is
No,
where
and I think especially a country like... Go ahead, brother.
Proper recycling reduces your
I would
need.
say sewage treatment and putting in proper treatment plants. And in rural areas where it may be difficult to have a kind of treatment facility to put in proper systems, I would think that is how you would spend the $5 million. Not to say you're going to use $500 to put a bathroom in somebody's house. It's not making any sense. It really isn't.
But well-designed septic tank and soakaway systems, modern septic tanks and so on, are really highly efficient sewage treatment plants, you know. They are triple-chamber septic tanks now in use. And by the time that water comes out of the third chamber of that septic tank and goes into the soakaway, it's clean water.
It's clean.
So it's a treatment plant. It's a micro-treatment plant.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of technologies that we can be developing in terms of the material used to build, etc., the location, you know, particularly the location of soakaways, because those things, the water travels, and you need to know how far that water is moving, but that can be easily determined by some subsurface water movement studies that will tell you how far it takes water to move 50 meters from this point to that point, or 500 meters, and you will, by the time it gets 500 meters, it's clean water. You could drink it. You could drink it. Fish could live in it.
Yeah.
So,
Right, well, we have certainly missed the time for our first break. So, George at the control, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll continue with much more on Mek We Chat.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food Fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at Food Fair.
Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alec, we're starting work on the house soon, and I'll need your help.
Sure. What do you need?
I got a service application checklist from Grenlec's website.
This looks easy.
It is. We need a new service.
That's option A.
So wherever there's an A, that's something we must do in order to get the service.
So the other things without an A don't apply?
Exactly. The checklist shows us what documents to bring, the fees, and how soon we'll get the service.
So that you realize for all services, we must complete the right application form, have a valid photo ID, and a certificate from the electrical inspector?
That's right. The electrician will help us apply to the ministry for a certificate of inspection. So we'll use the checklist to get everything we need before going to Grenada. This will make the process smooth and save lots of time.
Okay, might as well get started.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, we're back with the usual suspects: Beverly, Jerry, Dwyer, Margaret, and Ate. Who's going to take the ball from here? What's so funny, guys?
You don't want to know, George. You don't want to know.
What am I missing here?
That is having really a ball.
Well,
It actually happened. But it wasn't Dwyer.
All right, fair
Nice
enough.
to know you guys are having a good time.
You remember this song by the guy from St. Vincent, Macintosh?
Yeah, man.
Small pin that struck hard. You remember that?
That's right.
Wow. Wow.
You win a crown with that. You win a crown singing that.
Okay.
Beckett, that was Beckett.
No. Is it by Macintosh?
No. Macintosh was the musician, Beckett, the singer.
No. Trust me. The fella Macintosh. Small, what you call it? Small penis. Yeah. I'm not talking about Sil Macintosh.
Okay, Sil was who I was thinking of.
No, Sil played sax. I played music with Sil in Canada.
Right.
Sil is my buddy. The other one is the one who went to Trinidad and took Trinidad by storm.
Ah, yes, and he became a famous songwriter and stuff.
Yeah, he was a big soca singer and everything. Not Beckett, no. Something Macintosh. I've been seeing.
All right, guys, enough for the calypso.
Yeah.
No more calypso.
He does, so she always have a thing against calypso.
What?
I wonder why.
Why are you associating me with dancehall, sir?
Dancehall.
I'm not a fan of dancehall music.
Well,
It's not music.
You should have
music that I sorry, Ati?
You miss popcorn.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She missed popcorn.
I choke on dancehall music. It's not to my taste. Sorry.
There you go.
And if she had messed up there, she missed busy signal here.
Guys, to feed into our regular narrative, I just got a WhatsApp here which I'd like to share with us. It's from a friend of ours who thinks like we do, a doctor lady. The question is, what is the difference between an ordinary thief and a political thief? The ordinary thief steals your money, bag, watch, gold chain, etc. But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. The ordinary thief will choose whom to rob, but you yourself choose the political thief to rob you. Police will chase and nab and lock up the ordinary thief, but the police will look after and protect the political thief.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the travesty and irony of our current society. And we blindly say we are not blind. Somebody just send this to me.
I think you got to get her on the program next week, Dwyer.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Back to what?
Very articulate.
Yes.
What to go back to?
I just wanted to point out one more thing.
Back to the budget.
One more thing on Grenada's budget I wanted to highlight before we go to Dominica, because there's a lot to talk about in Dominica.
I have something to say about it too.
While we're spending $5 million to build toilets in homes, 3.8 million for agriculture. So let's move on.
How much?
3.8.
Yeah, I think
$1 million?
3.8 million for a program. That program is called what? Agricom. It's grant financing from OECS under the Agricom program. 3.8 million for agriculture.
Something is not making sense, Beverley.
There's a lot.
In the last couple of years, right? Grenada bought $10 million worth of cattle from St. Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
Do the math.
Mm-hmm.
So something ain't making sense.
This 3.8 is for a specific program, you know. It's not the entire agriculture budget, you know.
Okay.
So when we go through the budget document, we look at the different allocations to the ministries, but agriculture is still way down on the list. But I just highlighted that to show where our priorities lie. We don't want to develop people. We just want to hand out things to them, you know, I don't know, to continue to mess up people's brain. And to have the society
Because I think it's all that $10 million. it's not that $10 million was used in helping people to develop themselves and to develop some help for themselves. They could buy their own toilets and still have a life.
Exactly, because that money you're talking about, that money you're talking about now, which comes from the sale of livestock, where does it go? It's not like it's being used to develop the livestock industry in Grenada, because Grenada don't have no livestock industry. So where's the money? Where did it go?
It's an individual, just like St. Vincent's individual supplier to clearly to an individual buyer and the livestock is not kept. That's another story.
It's private business.
Let me say something about the budget. Private business, exactly. Let me say something about the budget that I found interesting. One, that Grenada is going to have a surplus of 6%. But more importantly, the debt is falling from a few years ago to about 108% of GDP. And we are now seeing that the Prime Minister is targeting 55 or 52% of GDP as the target for the next year. Now, if Grenada pulls that off, Grenada will be a leader in the OACS, at least, to have brought down its debt to GDP ratio to that. I'm watching that one really closely because that is going to be major. Because just when the last administration went out, how many years ago was that? 10 years?
2013 was a change of administration.
13? Right.
2013.
And Grenada was in fairly serious financial difficulty. And to be able to reduce its debt to GDP down to the mid-50s at least, because the central bank's target is 60%. What Grenada is saying is that they're going to go below the target set by the central bank. Now, one of the things.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that the Prime Minister says has helped him to do that is the fiscal responsibility legislation. If that is so, right, and this is something that has been put in place and they have been made to commit to this by the IMF. If that does that, trust me, that legislation will become law right across the region. Because to move to that, if indeed and in fact it is commitment to that has brought that down, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make that law a requirement right across the region.
Terry, may I comment on that? I mean, debt to GDP is an important indicator, yes. But it is a meaningless indicator unless it is taken along and examined alongside some other critical indicators. While that indicator was, let's say, moving into the positive zone, what was happening to exports? What was happening to the trade balance? What was happening to the rate of investment, the ability of the economy to attract either direct foreign investment or other kinds of investment? What was happening to job creation? What was happening to the social condition of the people in the country? At what cost was that debt figure reduced? Was the GDP growing? Was the GDP decreasing? And so it needs to be taken into account alongside a full range of other indicators, not just the economic indicators, but the social indicators. Because very often, the IMF has a history of working with countries to do just that. But when you look at it, it's either at a significant social cost in terms of the cutback on health services, cutback on education, cutback on housing, in order for the public sector figures to look good. But it's also often come at the cost of, at a very high environmental cost in terms of making way for, if you will, extractive agriculture as opposed to regenerative agriculture, with the net effect being that in a few years' time, while you're patting yourself on the back for having a great new positive debt to GDP ratio, you've lost your forests, you've lost your water systems, your soils are gone, etc. So we've learned enough to know that no single indicator by itself has been able to reflect the welfare and well-being of a society, of a community. That is why we talk about the triple or even the quadruple bottom lines: the social, the economic, the technical, the environmental, and all of which have to be taken into account. The World Bank President Wilkinson championed that vigorously while he remained president of the bank. And he was booted out because of that. Because there's an element in the financial world for whom it is indicators like debt to GDP ratio, recurrent savings, that mean everything to them, because in the financial markets, those are the indicators that quote unquote that the stock market and other things respond to. But the conditions of the people living in those societies very often moves in the exact opposite direction. So I would, before patting anybody on the back, want to see the other numbers, to see the other indicators, and to see how these have been traded off, what has been traded off in order to achieve this.
No, but actually, we touched on it earlier because we have 10,000 people using that juice. So,
yeah.
Right. No, let me comment
No,
to the
Jerry
first
was
part.
coming too effusive.
No, let me comment to the first part of what Patty said. I understand what that Patty is saying. You know. The problem is that right now, that's the world's metric. People
No,
disagree with the world's
that's
metric in
not the
terms
world's
of.
metric. I'm sorry to disagree with you. The world's metric is what
Well,
I say. That's not the world's metric.
Ati, if you go out there, what is the name of your metric? At least mine, this one is called the debt to GDP. Where is that practice and what is it?
The name of the other metric is sustainable development.
Yeah, but it is not. It's not a broad-based metric that is used. So I'm not giving any excuse for it. Eh? All I'm saying right now, all I'm saying right now, all I'm saying right now, that is the metric that they have used. I might not agree with it. You might not agree with it, but I have to use that as the measurement that they have given us.
No, you use
as
it
I
as
say,
peril because
no,
it
you
forces
mentioned the social aspect. When the government plugs in $10 million to buy to fix a social problem such as the provision of toilets, that is probably how they balance it out.
but we have just done the math. That cannot balance it out.
Yeah.
That cannot.
Hello. Yeah, we had a minor power failure here. Everybody's going to have to log in again. I think we're back up. All right. I'm sending the invite right now. Okay.
Today, if you could tell, we're in the office again. And that's because I'm doing a couple upgrades to the office, got a couple new things to add to the office. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity just to have a little conversation about a YouTube studio or just, you know, a general studio for filming, photography, or anything kind of like that. It's worth mentioning that these are just some general viewpoints. Everybody's opinions on this may vary a little bit, depending on your workflow, the kind of work you do, what you're looking to do, but in general, in my
So there's Dwyer, there's Margaret. Are you hearing me, Mags?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, yeah, we had a power outage here.
Came back quickly though.
Yeah. I see Jerry. Jerry, you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, and Beverly?
Yes, I thought you were being a Barbados and us there.
No. Oh, okay. So just RT missing right now, okay? So let me apologize to our viewers. Yes, we did have our power. I have to say a brownout because the whole place didn't go down. Just everywhere where the equipment is went down, and we're back now. So let's continue where we left off, Beverly.
Okay, and we haven't seen Athy come back. Now that we're ready to talk about Dominica, you see?
Yeah.
So you guys can continue to talk about budget and let me see that.
No, I was making the point that I understand where Athy is coming from in terms of the metric we use, but that is what we would like. But I'm just dealing with what we have at the moment. And what we have at the moment, and it's used across the world in every single IMF report that I look at, is the debt to GDP. In other words, if your GDP, which is all the stuff, goods and services you produce in the country, what is the value of debt compared to that? That's how they look at it. Until we find a new metric, then that's the one we use. And that's why I'm saying, in the case of the Caribbean and of the OECS in particular, the Central Bank of the OECS, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, has set as a target, years now, 60%. If Grenada gets it, they'll be the only country not only to have met, but to have exceeded the target of 60%. So that will be something, that's why I was saying that is something to look at. But I made the additional point that the Prime Minister was saying that the reason why he...
Sorry, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Something's wrong? Yeah,
No, go ahead.
The Prime Minister gave us a reason, the fiscal responsibility legislation, as that which really has permitted him to be able to operate the way he has. All right? And I was just making, if that is true, I wouldn't be surprised to see that legislation become mandatory right across the current union.
Well, living here in Grenada, I have seen some gymnastics with the finances of the country, and it leads you to wonder, when do we obey the Fiscal Responsibility Act and when we don't? Because, there are some things that will come up and you'll hear, oh, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and then you see other things happening and you don't hear anything about the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So I really have some questions about it as far as its implementation and operation goes.
I guess it's a
But
convenient tool.
Jamaica has, it's a convenient tool, obviously. Jamaica has been placed on it. Barbados is going to be placed on it. Grenada is on. So that's what I'm saying. They're trying to, and in a sense, it is good because what has happened in the past is that when countries have had, for example, an IMF program, when things are restored, they just go back to where they were. What the IMF has been doing now is putting them on some measures and say, listen, you can't do this, this, and this, and it's locked. So the Prime Minister will bear some kind of censure if he doesn't.
The problem
with like any kind of account, any kind of accounting you have, people would spend money and come back, and when they write up reports, say the money was spent this way, you know.
The problem with that, is going back to this toilet thing in Grenada. Firstly, let me say this, Jerry. The government here reports that the debt to GDP is 58% in St. Kitts. If that is correct, if that is correct, then the information you just gave on Grenada wouldn't be correct. It wouldn't be the first to have broken down the 60% barrier.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Secondly, let's take the toilet project in Grenada. If, as part of that project, there was a larger project to deal with water waste, sewage treatment, and that sort of thing, and the government were to incur an additional debt of, say, $20 or $30 million, people could use some of the wastewater in the yards, produce food, be less dependent on commercial and outside sources for food, and all of these things. Would it not be a better investment? Would the country not be in a better position with a lower surplus or maybe no surplus and even a little higher debt to GDP ratio? Because now you have the 10,000 toilets all feeding into a proper sewage treatment system, which can produce water for your garden. You could have your little garden in the backyard, so you don't have to go and buy your herbs and your sweet peppers and all kind of things all over the place, and you don't have to go to the supermarket to import. So the point is, and I agree with Afi, generally in the discussion he had with you, that is too narrow a metric to use to determine the growth of a country. And economic growth, this thing about GDP and increasing your GDP every year is one of the most dangerous and dishonest things in the world today, because economics is about scarce resources, and the earth's resources are limited, and every country cannot have an increase. Every country economy cannot grow every year. And I could show you countries whose economy grows, but their people suffer more, because the benefits of that economic growth are short-termed and they lie in the hands of a handful of people. So economics is something that I take with a bag of salt, not a grain. And economic reports and data, and so, because you could twist them and turn them however you want.
That's right.
I hope they all seem to be pointing this at me as if it is something that I am promoting. I am reporting.
I'm
not promoting, I'm reporting.
Sorry. We've lost some time and we have a lot of stuff to talk about with Dominica, so let's go straight to Dominica.
Okay.
On the eve of their election campaign and some developments with the OAS especially, and after we bring us up to date with what's happening on the ground.
Well, the campaign never stopped, you know. You know, I mean, from 2014 right up until now, it's been going on. Because people have had concerns, and I must say there's been a resurgence in the level of activity among some segments of civil society, There's one trade union in particular, the Public Service Trade Union. There are a couple of NGOs and one or two professional organizations that have, if you will, kept hope alive during the period, because we did enter a desert period for civil society in Dominica, and I think a lot of the Caribbean. So that the campaigning was of a different type, different strategy. The campaigning wasn't necessarily loud, wasn't necessarily rallies or meetings, but was people going to events and seizing any opportunity, book launches, festivals, whatever, calypso competitions, writing calypsos for calypsonians, etc., to get messages across that, look, we were not on a good path. What Dwyer just finished saying, we were on a path where we were being told as long as the numbers kept rising, we were okay. Even if when people looked around at their neighbors, they saw that they were not okay. And so, and we had occasion to remind people, not everything that grows uncontrollably is good. And we use the situation of, a cancer. Cancer infected organs of your body. Cancer cells grow uncontrollably. That's not good. So some measure of management of the growth process, needed to be undertaken. And we campaigned and argued vehemently for that. We campaigned and argued vehemently for letting the politics reflect a decision by the society to use the improved welfare of the people and of the physical environment as critical indicators of progress. And unfortunately, we're still fighting that because, we have a mindset that infuses people in positions of authority in both the public and the private sector, that really it is the old paradigm that works. It's the old metric that is important. And as long as they are okay, and they tend to be okay, when a minister sits in cabinet and can go to parliament and approve a salary increase for himself, that's wonderful. How many people can do that? How many people can decide how much of a salary increase they want, go and make it and pass it and make it official, and and when they walk out of parliament, the next paycheck reflects that decision? That's what happened here. Our cabinet voted themselves a 52% increase in salary 4 years ago.
When?
In Dominica, right after the election.
Wow.
52% increase in salary. Wow. And today, 4 years later, they have just offered the police 0% for year 1, 0% for year 2, and 0% for year 3. They've offered the rest of the public service the same kind of metric, while they still enjoy a 52% increase. Come on.
It's like that politician said, I don't have his name, the one who said the money belonged to Roosevelt Skerritt and the DLP.
That's true.
So if you use a metric of the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots, there should be no have-nots in our society, our tiny little societies. We shouldn't have room for have-nots, okay? But the gap is growing. And guess what made that, unavoidable? Tropical Storm Erica in 2015, 1 year after their 52% increase, and Hurricane Maria in 2018. Because, you see, if you have the capacity to do things right, like your house is built right, and your shutters are on right, your foundation is done well, your plumbing is done well, because you've taken the time and you have access to the resources to do it right. When the storm comes, you probably will experience less damage, right? But because people did not have the wherewithal to make those incremental investments in an improved standard of living for themselves, and because they had become poor, our level of poverty the level of poverty in the Kalinago territory was 70% in 2011, and it never moved in the next decade. The level of poverty was 29% in 2011, a poverty assessment study, and it increased. They tried to make it look like it decreased, it declined, but you know what had happened? People had stopped looking for work, and people were migrating to St. Kitts, to St. Martin, to Guadeloupe, to Antigua. And so because there were fewer people kind of registering as unemployed because they were not even here, they claimed it as a victory, as progress. Fewer people. Our population was declining steadily and declined sharply after Erica and even more sharply after Maria. And while the population was declining, our voters list was growing. So today, we have a voters list of 74,961 voters after the last count just completed a week ago.
And what's the population?
The population is about 60,000.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Wow. Wow.
And we can presume that in the next week and a half or so, your population will increase for a few days.
Well, those people are going to vote against names of people that are on the list that shouldn't be on the list. Okay?
They just come out.
People are seeing their grandfather's name still on the voters list, Dwyer.
Dead?
They're dead and gone a long time ago, and they're still on the list, and the Office Commission has refused to remove them.
I think that
in one day alone, there were over 2,400 objections to names on the list, and not one of them is being attended to because the commission is saying, we don't have time, so I'm sorry, we have to go to the election in this list.
I think, did you see the statement issued?
In people some of whom haven't been here for 15, 20, even 30 years, but they're giving them airline tickets, they're flying them into Martinique, and they're ferrying them over from Martinique by the hundreds, and they are distributing them against lists where there are dead people and against lists where there are people who are no longer here, who left and never came back. So my name is Atherton Martin. So all I know, I look on the list, and the operatives of the party are telling them, okay, well, Afi, you're voting as Dwyer Astaphan, so go there and say you're Dwyer. I've come to vote. Yeah, what's your name?
You don't have to show ID.
No, and you do not have to show ID. And listen to this. We used to use the indelible ink as an indication that you voted. Do you know this year they have now said no presiding officer can force anybody to put their finger in the ink?
What?
So they mean that the more they face the system even more?
What?
So people
but isn't that the law?
Any number of times.
What is that?
No, that is crazy.
As us while cousins.
No, that has gone too far.
Yes, that is outrageous.
Absolutely outrageous, and it is why and on top of all of that, as you know, they have rejected out of hand the recommendations of the joint mission, which was simply a repeat of the recommendations since the 2005, 2009, 2014 elections. The same recommendations for cleansing the list, getting rid of all those dead people, etc., etc. No. So on election night, the cemetery does get very active.
I like it.
Because all these people are waking up to come and vote.
Yes.
Very active.
But Ati, I noticed that your foreign minister is going to the OAS tomorrow to complain.
Yeah, the US put some serious pressure at the Permanent Council, and she got the message. We've had the political officer of the embassy here, etc., and they have the message, but they don't care. So they're sending her up there.
No, but they're going to object. They're going to object that.
Yeah, they're going to object. Maybe she has business in Washington.
I found that interesting.
Maybe she has business in Washington. Let's put it that way. And so this is a trip, and it's paid for. So, but objecting is just going to make the situation even more crucial, because the facts that we have been laid before the OAS by the OAS mission that was just here. So they know about the bloated lists. They know about the no ID cards. They know about the fact that the machinery for doing ID cards was ordered and has been sitting in Dominica for 3 years.
Wow.
But has never been used.
Wow.
And so we know all of that. So I think what she's going to do is she's going to aggravate an already difficult situation. And I expect that from the initial alert that the US put on us, which is a travel alert of a lowish level. In fact, it's the same travel alert that is in place in Bolivia and Saudi Arabia at this moment. It's the same travel alert that we have here for the same reasons. And that's going to probably be ramped up to a full travel alert, which actually will say to US citizens, we don't advise you to travel to Dominica.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
And so the cruise industry and the whatever, stayover industry will feel it directly. And then the next level will be a financial one.
RT, that statement that...
Making it possible for us, making it difficult.
Are you guys hearing me?
George has been trying to say something for a while.
George?
Yes, sir. You hear me?
Hey, George. Sorry about that, man. I got a little excited about the situation.
A little? RT, in that statement that was issued by the U.S. permanent representative today, there was mention made that I think the OAS was not included in the invitation to observers for the upcoming election.
That's right. That's right. They've invited the ComSec and CARICOM.
Wow. So that's going to taint any election that's held there.
Of course. And that's what the US person is saying, is that, I mean, the OAS is the gold standard in election observing. So guess what they've done, George? This one is you're going to chuckle at this. Instead of inviting the OAS, they thought they'd be really smart and invite the United Nations. But guess what? The United Nations does not do election observing. Guess who does election observing for the United Nations?
The OAS.
Yes.
But that is what I made the point even at here about what people say about the IMF. It's the institution that does what it does. Like it or not, it's what it is. That is the world. What is interesting, though, I find, right, is that you're going there to object. How are you going to stand there when the same organization to whom you're going is the one that prepared a report that said, we are not by themselves? And you rejected it. So on what basis are you going to object? I just don't get it.
The lady has some shopping to do. Christmas coming, you know, bros.
Absolutely.
It's Washington, eh?
Another free trip.
And I don't
Washington.
think, I mean, honestly. But you see, here you have these people playing games with a country, a whole society. As I'm speaking to you now, people are protesting still on the same site where the police attacked them and tear gas a few nights ago. And tomorrow night, it's going to be a massive protest.
But has the president up to now issued a statement?
The president has said absolutely nothing. The president was prevailed upon by the Christian Council yesterday to commence a process of talking to civil society. So he's met with the Christian Council, the Evangelical Council, he's met with some trade unions, he's refused to meet people together. He's chopping up the meetings because he's buying time, he's wasting time, okay? they've said to him he has to make a statement because constitutionally, especially with the proroguing of the parliament and all of that and so forth, not even before that, the business of managing the elections is actually under the direct tutelage of the president, because the president appoints the chairman of the Electoral Commission, who has the casting vote. And so but now with Parliament, suspended, the president really assumes this is the period of time when he has most quote unquote authority to act in his own deliberate judgment. And he's been absolutely silent. As a matter of fact, the last weekend he went on, he spent the last weekend at the Kempinski Resort.
Oh?
Yeah, while people were crazy and busy trying to figure out the future of the society, here he is on a vacation. So really, it's rubbing people's noses in the sand. And we heard today of reports, unconfirmed as of this moment, since it happened after Maria. I don't know if you heard that, Jerry, of the RSS mobilizing to come.
Yeah, I heard that,
but it's not been confirmed. And there have been conversations with certain heads of government in the region by people from here, telling them, you guys crazy or what? People are asking for the very things that you already have in your country. A clean voters list and ID cards, and you want to send troops into Dominica for that? Yeah? What's the point here? And then, of course, there is the so I would say you can expect a ramping up of the public pressure if the president doesn't insert himself into the dialogue and remove Skerritt from the dialogue, because Skerritt is a very contentious, rude, and unabridged, ill-disciplined person. Then the country will pay the price. The country will pay the price because people will take matters into their own hands. I have been saying so to you all for a while.
But Ati, yeah, I don't see that. But Ati, but let's go back now to what.
Jerry, go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying let's go back to the results as they have been put out, because clearly what is happening today is a PR push to condition the minds of people that the election basically is almost won, although the data doesn't at all corroborate that.
Which data?
So the information put out by Peter Wickham today.
Oh, Peter Wickham data just became the laughing stock of the population. Even Laborites were very angry because Peter Wickham avoided the issue of what appears to be the real situation in the country. Here's how he avoided it. He says the only indicator, the only metric on which he really gave data was who do people want as their leader?
As their leader. I've heard that too many times now.
Okay.
They did the same thing as in Vincent.
And then, but the critical number of that metric is the undecideds. You had 30% for Skerritt, 20-something% for Lennox, and 26% undecided, even on leadership. What does that tell you?
But that's a ridiculous question to ask on the eve of a campaign.
He stayed away from looking at the real hard data. Elections are won on the ground. So constituency, area level, whole level, that's where it's won. He stayed away from that. Because all the data in all Peter's polls up until now have told him that 7 constituencies is what the Labour Party will win. And this of the last 4 polls he did, this is the only one they made him go public with the results.
But all of it, you have to understand that all of it joins in with the push at the OAS, etc. But I can tell you this: I got this from CAPA, the Caribbean Agency for Political Advancement will host a press conference on Friday at 1, and they were going to give us their results of the findings of a scientific survey, which was conducted in Dominica between November 2nd and the 16th, and they will release their figures. So we'll have something to compare Peter Wickham's
Of course. And we have
data against.
other polls that have been done. I mean, quite as professional as Peter, if not more so, and we have access to that data. But you know, really, it's beyond polls, right? It's just like I keep reminding people, flags don't vote, banners don't vote, people vote. So if you have a mind to it, and you know, and I'm sure Jerry, you do have that a kind of mind, and Dwyer probably does as well. That you can feel, you can sense, you know, it's palpable when a community, when a society shifts. The kinds of conversations that people who are prominent in the incumbent party will want to have with you now. That kind of conversation about boy, where they're asking you about their future. What do I think? How are things likely to go? But you're a member of the ruling party. They're asking other people, what do we think? How it is going to go? And for the first time, you're meeting people who are known as what we call arch labor rights, telling you the in between. I have never experienced that with the Labour Party. And I've worked for the Labour Party, I've worked with the Labour Party, I've never experienced that. When they close ranks, it's like an iron wall, okay? But there's no iron wall. They're spending a lot of money, which they are unable to explain. It's not Labour Party money. Labour Party has no money.
No, but the fella said
money. Yes, I was just I just remember that.
Say it's Roosevelt money.
Money, yes. It's me money.
He took the money. He robbed the country. That's going back to the thing Dwyer made. That's the arch. That's the model political thief. He stole all the money in full view of people. I mean, the stories that are coming out now, because people, you see, how many of your people can you actually give money? So right now they've chosen to give money to gangsters, criminals, people who have convictions for murder and are out because somebody made a phone call and said, they're getting 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 for them to drive around the place on their motorbikes and make noise and sing songs for labor and so on. That's where we are now. Last night, they drove a little motorcade like that through the protesters outside of the Fort Young area. Fortunately, people kept their calm. They stood back. And fortunately also, a segment of the policemen on duty came and moved them on. That's another factor. So,
but
you know, it's very...
One of the indicators to me is the fact that police were out marching. I mean, protesting. I find, to me, that is one of the things that shows me that the tipping has occurred.
Yeah, the tipping has occurred. And they have, well, over the next few days, you'll see what will happen, because tomorrow there's a public service union meeting, because they had their conversations with the government today.
But
and they're going to take why they just had 2 days of industrial action, yesterday and today.
That is why people are so concerned about the voters list, because if the local society has tipped and ready to vote a different way, and then you have equal or higher numbers coming in to vote for one party, then people have to be concerned about that.
We are concerned about
Well, it's going to be worse than concerned because this time I have a sense that people are not going to sit down and accept it.
They are not going to accept it, Jerry. I'm telling you, that's what.
I have watched this campaign, and I've said this even to former Prime Minister Sir James, who called to ask me what I thought. I said, I've never seen a campaign run with individuals on Facebook and social media like I have seen this one. And you get a sense of the determinations in people's mind. People don't care. People do not care. People are saying what they want to say, and they're doing what they want to do. And so I hope that good sense prevails when it comes to that, because I am saying, if by any stretch of the imagination,
we want to get a message to our compatriots overseas, like in Antigua.
I didn't hear you.
And tell them, brothers, take a break, stay away, because we don't know which ones of you are coming in as bribed and treated voters, and which ones of you are coming in on your own steam, because there are people who would pay their own way and come in and be here, and vote legally and properly. But you wouldn't know who they are. And I'm afraid that the resident on-island population is not of a mind to spend time figuring out who is who. If you come in on that ferry, and that ferry is deemed to have imported voters, everybody on that boat will be treated that way. And it won't be nice. So if anybody can do anything, it's to help those.
They're coming for you, Afi. That's siren, they're coming for you.
Where I am there, Dwyer, ain't no siren can reach here.
That's a New York siren. That's a New York siren.
You have to have a drone or a helicopter.
Bev.
Yes, George.
There's one thing I noticed that was missing tonight from the menu, and that has to do with yesterday's resignation of one of the members of Parliament here.
George, you really want to see this time with that thing? Really?
Tobias.
With Tobias?
Toby.
Yeah.
It's almost
George,
9:50.
I really don't think we need to waste time with Tobias. Tobias is an attention seeker, and I don't have none to give him. Sorry.
Tobias want to try Barbados story. Man, see what happened in Barbados, the man want to try. Very wrong with you.
One thing that was said by this gentleman that kind of concerned me, he said that in his letter of resignation, he was suggesting that he was not pleased with the fact that it now appears that the party, my word, hijacking the constituency offices. And as an insider, I'm assuming he should know what's going on in there. And if that is the case, I mean, one more step to dictatorship.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, until Tobias returned to the treasury, all the minister's salary that he collect, I don't know time for him. If he wants to take the moral high ground, he can begin the climb by returning the money he collected that he knows he was not entitled to. So when he returns it, I can start to take him serious. Right now, he's just an attention seeker.
That's an opinion.
So, Afi,
Yes,
what did Peter Wickham forecast in the election?
He said he couldn't.
He couldn't.
I mean, he couldn't at the event at least 4 or 5 times. He said the Labour Party will win.
He said,
but he admitted that there's a certain amount of, what was the word he used among the voters?
Apathy.
Apathy, right. So I was going to say lethargy, but it's apathy, and it was right. Apathy. And he was basically saying, who is able to motivate those apathetic voters is the one who's going to win.
Yeah.
But any statistician, the most basic statistics tell you that if you have two sets of data, but you have an amount that is not included that is bigger than the two sets of data, you can't call it.
Absolutely. That's why
You
I'm
cannot
saying
call it.
he might not have said it in his own
Because you
language.
do not know exactly. You can't call it.
You cannot call it. So that's
You
why
can't
I
call it.
cut to the chase for Dwyer and said he couldn't call it because here's another, if you will, tangible fact which is not captured in the statistics. It is true that over the last 5 weeks or so, within 24 hours of announcing a meeting, the opposition party has been able to attract massive numbers of people. None of these people.
That is one of the things that surprised me.
None of these people are busting. They come on their own steam. There's no rum, there's no food, there's no big loud music or artists from anywhere. They come for the politics. The Labour Party has been moving. They even had to transport people by ferry, over 300, to Antigua to give their meeting the illusion of body. They did it to Guadeloupe. And in the history of the Dominica Labour Party, these are two overseas kind of stalwart communities for Labour. But this year, they had to bring people there because they were broadcasting the meeting. And it is what we call the clappers that they brought that were there. The opposition, for example, has no money, and but the momentum and the moment appears to be. I'm not in the business of predicting outcome, but I'm in the business of watching and observing carefully where the mind, what's happening to the mindset, the attitude, the thinking, the behavior of the people on the ground. And there's no doubt about it. I've seen it happen at least half a dozen times in the last several weeks. We've just an announcement on radio, maybe in a press conference. People just are there. I've never seen that happen. That used to be the Labour Party.
I think that was, you remember the Sunday night when, it was a Sunday night, I think, or Saturday night, when Linton, when it said that he was going to show the video about how...
Yeah, Lennox.
That is the time that shocked me, because really the timing for that was so short. Absolutely. But the number of people I saw, they really convinced me that something had happened.
That was a day. That was one day.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask one quick question before we have to run out of here. What has happened? Why the government of Antigua has instituted a policy that every single person coming to the island from Dominica is going to be searched, them and their luggage?
I asked Nikki that question today. She had no answer. And honestly, we are a bit baffled, because searching us coming from Dominica, the problem we are having is people coming in and coming in with arms and ammunition. In fact, they caught two guys, U.S. Customs, in St. Thomas, leaving St. Thomas armed, coming to Dominica. They alerted security here. And for the next 24 hours, U.S. Customs was trying to reach police in Dominica, and they got no response.
What?
They had to send somebody. They had to send an official to Dominica to determine what has happened to those two people that we alerted you about. They were armed, but the police never responded.
Are you serious?
I mean, how can
serious?
they without it being serious?
What is that?
There's been the importation of arms and ammunition into Dominica that have just disappeared. 2 barrel-fulls, you know those big blue barrels? 2 barrel-fulls of guns came into Dominica. And when it was opened by the customs and they called the police, what did the police do? Well, they said they have information. They took the 2 barrels, and this is about 2 years ago. Nobody has seen those barrels or those guns since. Where are they? Where are they? So that's the danger. So honestly, I'm baffled. But I'm worried more that the head of the OECS, who is also a senior member of CARICOM was an observer. CARICOM appended its signature to the recommendations for clean and fair elections and ID cards and so clean lists and so on. And he did not mention in his statement, he did not mention anything about that. He just said he wants us to be calm. Be calm, what? Somebody's holding a gun to you and you want me to be calm? Come on. You know, doesn't work that way. And so that's why all these leaders that are remaining silent and hiding in the bushes when our people are under stress, whether it be in Grenada or St. Vincent or Dominica, all of them remaining silent. How do we excuse that kind of behavior? How do we excuse?
Cannot be excused.
We're out of time, though. That's a wrap. Jerry?
Yes, we're out of time, but as usual, folks, it's always like we have to kind of plug in some good tidbits towards the end. But thanks again for another great edition. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the power going off at the master control. But thanks again, George, for supporting us. Happy thank you to Dwyer, Margaret, and Beverley. Thanks again. And folks, those of you who have joined us, those of you who have made comments, we want to thank you very much. Keep the discussions going. Share the information that you learn here on another edition of Mek We Chat. I'm Derek George, on behalf of all of the suspects. Until next week, God willing.
Thank you very much.